Joining me now to unpack the growing frustration over AI data centers is our contributor, David Clement. Now, David, I want to start with the Vancouver
Mhm.
proposals with the protesters. What exactly are they in opposition to, and what are the arguments against the specific proposals?
Yeah, so in Vancouver, it falls into a few buckets. It's largely the environment, which is either emissions or water usage. There are complaints about noise,
Hmm.
and then complaints about jobs or a lack of jobs. Um, what I think this really boils down to is just a classic case of NIMBYism, the not in my backyard uh, phenomena that we see with condo developments,
Hmm.
with low income housing, with any big project that may create some temporary disruption in a community. But once you start to scratch the surface on any of those objections, they fall flat very, very quickly.
I want to talk about water
Mhm.
first. So we know that AI data centers do use a lot of water, but how much water are we actually talking about, and is there a cause for concern?
Yeah, so no, there is not a cause for concern, especially not in the context of the other things that we tolerate in our lives.
Hmm.
Um, so first off, with the Vancouver proposal specifically, so the water is used to cool the AI data centers because cooling is an important part of making sure it doesn't overheat. It's a closed loop, meaning they recycle the water. It's about what the rainfall that hits the top of BC Place in a year. So it's negligible in that sense. One, because it's a closed loop. Even if it wasn't, though, the average golf course in Canada or BC uses like 300,000 gallons of water on a summer day
Hmm.
just to keep grass green so that we can hit putts and slice a drive into the woods. Nobody complains, right? Nobody is protesting golf courses. Some people may have objections to golf courses and not golf,
Hmm.
but they don't advocate that we strip down golf courses or not use them. Ironically, the same goes for almonds, right? A kilogram bag of almonds uses thousands and thousands and thousands of liters of water. Um, Nobody is protesting at the grocery store to pull almonds off the shelves. Nobody is saying that there should be a law that says you can't eat almonds. So the water usage issue, one in BC in particular, is a closed loop. So it really is nonsense. But even if it wasn't, in comparison to the other things that we accept on a day-to-day basis, it is like 1/100th of the
Hmm.
water usage of other agriculture, almonds, golf courses, you name it. It's significantly less and pales in comparison.
Well, there's no complaints because almonds and golf are pretty awesome. But I want to talk about noise because
Mhm.
they are getting noise complaints. So, is there merit to this argument that an AI data center would bring a lot of noise to a usually quiet neighborhood?
If you didn't have setbacks, there may be some merit to them. But almost all of these proposals have a setback, which is like a buffer zone,
Hmm.
which reduces the decibels to like a dull hum, like a refrigerator hum. So negligible.
Hmm.
It's about half of when a bus accelerates on a city street. These are the things that, again, we tolerate on a day to day basis. No one is advocating for the buses to stop running because they happen to hit 70 decibels hundreds of times a day in a city. So, again, it's one of those things where, yes, it produces noise,
Hmm.
but with proper setbacks and things like that, that noise issue goes down to something that would otherwise be normal or commonplace in any major city or any major suburb.
And on jobs, the mayoral candidate in Mississauga called the proposed project there low economic value. Is he right, given that data centers themselves don't usually employ many long term?
Yeah, so yeah, he's wrong because he's measuring jobs in the wrong way. Um, so all of these centers have to be built. So that is laborers, technicians,
Hmm.
HVAC installers, electricians. Those are all important jobs. These are the jobs that fund union pensions and keep a middle class alive. But his argument that there are no like permanent long-term jobs in a data center like there would be, let's say, a traditional building that has hundreds of staff, well, that's an argument against roads. That's an argument against laying fiber
Hmm.
so that we all have internet. Um, that's an argument against almost every public infrastructure project that gets built once and then is maintained. And yet it would be wildly irrational for anybody in municipal politics to advocate against, let's say, laying transmission wires for interconnectivity because it doesn't have a full-time staff operating 24/7. And so it just seems like a wild accusation to say I can't support this because people aren't going to be working there 24/7 when it's an infrastructure project, right? You build a bridge, the Gordie Howe Bridge.
Mhm.
Thousands of people went into building it. Very few will go into maintaining it. Some will go into staffing it. Doesn't mean that the bridge is useless because the thousands of people aren't still working on it after it's completed. That's kind of the point.
Now, you've recently written in the Winnipeg Free Press
Mhm.
that Canadian cities are abandoning Canada's AI history.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
So yeah, most people don't realize that the foundation of AI is actually Canadian. From labs in Toronto and Montreal, we're talking about renowned scholars who have
Mhm.
gone on to win Nobel Prizes in their respective fields. And so we have a scenario where we created the engine, but
Mhm.
we won't build the roads. And we're just going to be left on the sideline here in the process. And what makes this even more irritating is that processing capacity is needed regardless of whether or not we build these facilities here. And so an alternative would be, so processing capacity is necessary. Well, if we don't build them here, where are they going to get built? They're going to get built in the United States.
Mhm.
So that is infrastructure, jobs, et cetera, you name it, going south of the border. Two, it depends on where the infrastructure is built. If it's built in a state like Kentucky, no disrespect to the fine people of Kentucky, they're plugging into more or less a coal energy grid.
Mhm.
What is better? Having that in Vancouver, where over 90% of the energy and power used is renewable, or in Ontario, where it's majority nuclear? Or would it be better for the environment to have it be plugged into coal power and contributing emissions? I think if you care about the environment, obviously the answer is in Canada. And then there's the data sovereignty question of, is it important to house this infrastructure here for our own good?
Well, there have been a lot of discussions on AI data sovereignty. How does this play into the debate with these potential bans?
Yeah, it's again, it goes back to local politicians forgetting that the capacity is required whether we build it here or not.
Mhm.
And so, an example would be in BC. So the government processes thousands of units of data for a variety of different reasons. Right now, a lot of that goes to the US and then stored and comes back. For anyone who cares about the integrity of where data is stored, well, the argument would be easy. It would matter a lot to them that it's stored in Canada within our borders under Canadian law.
Mhm.
Um, that is a good thing, right? In the world, the growing concerns over hacking and foreign actors and all of this stuff, is it better that we could potentially house some of this here? That would be a great option to have.
And what about the straining of the power grids or the possibility of generating more demand for power and inflating energy bills for local residents?
Yeah, I see this argument all the time, and they get the relationship backwards. So most of these AI data centers pay premium rates.
Mhm.
So they're actually subsidizing the fixed costs associated with the infrastructure, which means that as they come into town, yes, there may be a larger draw on power demand, but they're paying premium rates, which allows for municipalities to keep rates the same or even lower for ratepayers. And so the inverse of what we see in the debate is actually occurring, where in the US, a lot of these data centers are causing either a stagnation or a lowering
Mhm.
of power costs.
Well, David, thank you so much for the time.
Thank you.